In a world that's not too far off, being unattached is against the rules. I mean, no one is allowed to be unattached. Everyone has to have a romantic partner. You must have a romantic partner with you at all times, or you'll face consequences. People who find themselves single are sent to a special hotel where they have 45 days to find a new partner. If they don't succeed, they undergo a unique process that turns them into an animal of their choice using advanced technology. The movie begins with a woman driving down a road, arriving at a field full of small donkeys. She gets out of her car and shoots one of the donkeys until it's no more. This story centers on David, an architect whose wife recently left him for another man. As a result, he's sent to the hotel to find a new partner. His sole companion is Bob, his dog, who was once his brother, but was transformed into an animal due to the absence of a romantic partner. To enter the hotel, David goes through paperwork and an interview. The hotel has an unusual rule. Couples must share a common trait. In David's situation, it's short-sightedness. So he's on the hunt for a short-sighted partner. He also shares that he spent 11 years with his wife, who ultimately left him for another short-sighted man. Following the interview, he's shown to his room and receives a briefing from the hotel manager and her husband. When asked about his choice of animal in case he doesn't find a partner, David opts for a lobster due to their long lifespan and continuous fertility. The manager appreciates his unique choice, as many people usually select dogs, impacting the ecosystem. Before leaving, the hotel's maid restrains one of David's hands to prevent rule breaking. During breakfast the next day, he befriends two men, Robert and John, who are also in search of partners with shared unique traits. As they scan the dining area, they notice a woman with constant nosebleeds and another who appears emotionally distant. Unfortunately, none of them align with Robert, John, or David's characteristics. Later, during an assembly, all the singles are given a chance to talk about what makes them unique. John shares that his limp resulted from visiting his mother, who had transformed into a wolf. He's here because his wife passed away, and others also share their stories. Throughout the day, the singles interact with potential partners. At a dance event, David asks the nosebleed girl to join him, but they discover they don't share a common trait. Following this, they're summoned to head into the woods for a hunt targeting a group known as the Loners. In this unusual world, loners are those who've escaped the hotel's fate, avoiding the transformation into animals. Instead, they've banded together in the woods to evade the city police, who would send them back to the hotel if caught. Singles remaining in the hotel have a bizarre task. They hunt the loners with tranquilizers, returning them for animal transformation. The number of loners caught adds precious days to the singles' hotel stay. For example, if you have 40 days left to find a partner, and during the hunt you catch two loners, your time left in the hotel becomes 42 days. On his first day of hunting, David doesn't capture any loners, and his time in the hotel starts slipping away. Among the singles, the woman devoid of emotion proves to be the most skilled hunter, taking down about 10 loners in a single hunt. The hotel enforces unusual rules, including the maid's nighttime duties, to stimulate the men, ensuring they're more motivated to find a partner. There is also another rule: you are not allowed to pleasure yourself. Robert was found pleasuring himself in his room and faces a gruesome punishment. His hand is burned in a toaster. In the subsequent hunt, David sits beside a woman with an unusual fondness for butter biscuits. She makes advances, even offering sexual favors, but David remains uninterested. During their conversation, she reveals her desperate plan to jump from her window if she can't find a partner in time. During a swimming event, John, the man with a limp, feigns a nosebleed to align with the nosebleed girl's unique trait. At the following evening party, John and the nosebleed girl become an official couple, earning a transfer to a double room. Tragically, a few days later, the girl who loves butter biscuits takes her own life by leaping from her window. She did it because she did not get a partner. Shockingly, the heartless woman observes her suffering but doesn't make an effort to help. With just 1 week left to find a partner, David approaches the heartless woman, acting as emotionally detached as she is. Surprisingly, she's drawn to him, seeking someone as unfeeling as herself. They spend time together, with David maintaining his facade. In a surprising twist, the heartless woman decides to test David's emotional response by faking her own death while they're in a hot tub. Much to her surprise, David remains unemotional and unfazed, just like her. She decides to become David's partner. This shared emotional detachment leads to their romantic involvement, granting them access to double rooms and couple-exclusive activities. Their relationship relationship blossoms for a few days, but cracks begin to show. The heartless woman detects hints of emotions in David during intimate moments, which sets off her ruthless instincts. She wants to test if David is an emotional person, so she decides to mercilessly kick David's brother dog to death. Initially unfazed, David gradually reveals his emotional turmoil when he's found crying in the bathroom. As David tearfully mourns him, she concludes that their relationship is a lie and attempts to drag him to the hotel manager to have him punished, turned into the animal that no one wants to be. However, David escapes, and with the help of a sympathetic maid, who is later revealed to be a mole working for the loners, tranquilizes his partner. With the help of the maid, they lead her to the transformation room, where she meets the same fate as those before her, being turned into an animal. David escapes from the hotel and goes to the woods. Out in the woods, he encounters a group of loners led by an individual as ruthless as the hotel manager. These loners are bound by strict rules, including severe punishments for any romantic or sexual relationships within the group. Their commitment to these rules becomes evident when David learns of two members who had their lips severed for flirting. Despite the harsh regulations, David is accepted into the loner group. There, a girl with black hair and the same short-sightedness as David finds herself drawn to him, although she's limited to talking to him solely as a friend due to the group's rules. David and the girl develop a gestural language they use to communicate. They are taken on covert missions to the nearby city, where their cover requires them to appear as husband and wife, which they secretly enjoy. In the evening, when the hotel guests return for their customary hunt, Robert seizes David. Fearful for his life, David tries to persuade Robert that they are best friends. But Robert is unyielding, as David's transformation deadline looms in just 2 days. Surprisingly, the black-haired girl steps in and saves David by knocking out Robert. Meanwhile, the hotel's maid has a secret rendezvous with the loners' leader, hinting at a concealed connection between the two groups. They conspire to overthrow the hotel. Every month, two loners pretend to be a couple to gather supplies from the city. This time, the leader, her partner, the black-haired girl, and David embark on the mission. During a trip to the mall, a police officer questions David about his partner, but the black-haired girl comes to his rescue. The loners prepare for their assault on the hotel, taking the manager and her husband hostage. Other loners hold the hotel manager and her husband at gunpoint, tricking him into shooting his wife to save himself. But the gun is not loaded. They leave the couple to face each other. Meanwhile, David tells the woman with nosebleeds that John has been faking his nosebleeds to be with her. After making their point, the loners swiftly depart and return to the woods, with the maid now among them. Over time, the black-haired girl and David become closer, planning their escape. The leader of the loners obtains David's journal and discovers his plan to escape with the short-sighted woman. The leader and the maid take the woman to the city, ostensibly to have an operation to cure her short-sightedness, but instead has her blinded. The woman attempts to stab the leader, but the leader uses the maid as a human shield and pretends to die when the woman stabs the maid to death. David and the woman try to find something else that they have in common, to no avail. One morning, David overpowers the leader, leaving her tied up in an open grave to be eaten alive by wild dogs. He and the blind woman escape to the city and stop at a restaurant. The movie ends with David going to the restroom and hesitantly preparing to blind himself with a steak knife.